I'm here today to review the Exo Chair by Balanced Body. In a previous video, I have already reviewed the Wunda chair and the combo chair, or the both of them, and compared them a little bit. And today, thanks to a friend and fellow studio owner who lended me this Exo Chair, I can tell you a little bit about it. I have practiced a little bit on it. It's not my piece of equipment, so it's always different when you own something for a long time and work on it with a lot of people. You get to know the piece a lot better, so I will say that. But with just going through my normal repertoire, or the repertoire that I use with my students, I can tell you a few things. So all in all, I really have to say that this is a really well-made chair. I really like it. It's sturdy, it feels really solid. When I saw it, just a picture of it, I was like, I don't know, it looks kind of flimsy. And then hearing that it's lightweight, I was like, I'm not sure. I would really disagree. So it is lightweight. I was able to just lift it and move it around. Move it around to put it here in the center, for instance, or even carry it up into my studio. Was really not a problem. So that's really nice. So if you want to move all your chairs away outside so you can have mat classes or something, and then move all the chairs into the room, it's really doable for one teacher. This chair has 2 springs, and it comes with a split pedal option. So that's really fantastic. I am a huge fan of the split pedal because it opens up such a tremendous amount of repertoire, like really good exercises, maybe not many, but really good ones. And I am a little bit frustrated with the 4 springs on the combo chair. So the fact that this one only has 2 springs, so one for each of the split pedals, is just really wonderful. So I'm just gonna take both of them down. I'm gonna lay it flat so you see, right? So there's a black heavy springs attached in the center. And so the Pilates Center in Boulder came up with a line working together with Balanced Body called Center Line, right? So the center line of the body, and I believe that they also attach the springs in the center. And my other 2 chairs don't have that, so they have the spring attachments on the outside and the sides, like the traditional Wunda chair. And I do have to say, and I read somewhere that the springs in the center makes a difference, and I really agree that it does. When you sit on it and you do a double leg pump, there's something about having the springs together and activating this instead of kind of dragging apart and pulling apart a little bit. And it's very subtle, right? These differences are not huge. So if you're a beginner of Pilates will not know that or notice that. But if you practice it on a lot, it's just gentle and a subtle difference. So I do like that. And I love the simplicity of just having 2 springs instead of 4. So when you hook up the springs, it has 4 cactus attachments in the back. So just like the Wunda chair, same system as the Wunda chair and the combo chair. And then let's say I'll take the dowel out if it lets me. Yes, perfect. So if I set up the springs on a different setting, so now I have this pedal on 4 and this pedal on 1, so this is high, this is low. And you see there is a slight difference in height of the pedal, but it's very, very, it's really almost not noticeable, which is wonderful because now I don't have to worry about where to set up which height to choose. That's again the problem with the combo chair, that I need less resistance, so I want to put the pedal down, on a lower attachment, but then the whole pedal sits lower. And then so you sit there and you're trying to figure out for hours how to set it up in a smart way. And I mean, over time, yes, you'll learn it, but I don't know, I've had this chair for a while and I'm still learning. So this is definitely the easier setup. Another thing that I really like let me just get 1 spring away. I love that the pedal is wood, right? So you can compare this, the pedal is actual wood, and then it has the pad just on top of the wood pedal. With the combo chair, the pedal is it doesn't have a wood base. right, the springs itself are sort of the pedal, and then it has the two halves. And when you're sitting on it, and when you do your footwork, for instance, you just, again, I don't know what it is. It's probably because there's more material. It's just sturdier, and I feel it's more together, more solid. With the combo chair, it's a little bit, it feels a little unstable. Okay. One little downside maybe that you'll notice if you do, for instance, footwork, is the springs are right there in between your feet and heels. So if you're used to having your feet really close together, you'll be touching the springs, which might not be great. But it teaches you to keep your feet apart. So there's hip width apart. So there's maybe benefit to that. You can probably orient yourself on keep your feet just outside the springs. That way you approximately have your hip width apart distance. And just me sitting here, let me just quickly go back to the whole center line thing. I feel that there is more awareness of the pubic symphysis, of the attachment, of the adductors, possibly pelvic floor, instead of the attention always on the outside. Okay? All right. The dimensions of the chair in general are very, very similar to the combo chair. So I believe it's the same width. Maybe it's a little wider. And we can look that up. Balanced Body, I'm sure, has the dimensions on there. It might be a tiny little bit wider than the Wunda chair, but it's nice and deep. So I like that the seat itself is a good size. The combo chair is just a little small. The seat itself is a little small. The height is the same as the Wunda chair. It is a tad higher if you see it there, and that's because it has these little feet, and they make sure that it doesn't slide. So if I push here, it's really not going anywhere. And my floor is very slippery. So I always have to put everything on a mat so that it doesn't slide away, and this really doesn't. If I push here, you see I can slide it. So I have to be much more careful with this one. I'm not sure if you can buy little sticky feet for this chair. That might actually be a good idea. So there's that. The combo chair is more affordable than the other chairs, right? So I would say it's really a good piece of equipment to get. It has a couple of options. So you can choose the solid, the single pedal, but you have the split pedal options. I would totally go for the split pedal, absolutely. The way this is a really good solution with the dowel here. Same thing, feels a little flimsy there. I apologize for the noise out there. They're not liking me. They don't want me to shoot a video right now. So this is a good solution with the dowel in between. The pedal is a little bit wider than on the Wunda chair. So I often put people onto the combo chair because the pedal is wider. So if they need more width for the shoulders, I always give them this chair because the pedal, the pad, not so much the wooden part, but the pad, it's just so narrow. And here you have just a little bit more width. So it's appropriate for, I think, a lot more people. It has this elastics option, which I believe you attach here on those eye bolts. It's just to add some resistance. I personally, I'm not a fan. I've never tried it out, so I shouldn't really talk about something that I've never tried. It feels to me like a little bit too contemporary and a little too far away from what we're trying to do. But that's really my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with this chair, really. You have the option, and if you're more a contemporary person, then that might be something you might like. And another great option that it allows you to have is the sitting box riser. So I have, it's not in this, let me pull it over. So I do have a sitting box riser for my combo chair. So this fits perfectly behind the combo chair. And you can get a different riser, so they make it in tall and in short. And you can make it a different riser that fits next to the Exo Chair. And love, love, love it. Love it. For those people who need a swan from the top but who can't do it with their legs hanging off, fantastic. And if you don't want to schlep your chair all across the room, the way that I have set up my studio, it's just not convenient. It's not so far, it's just not convenient. I wanted to use the chair by itself and the trap table by itself. And when somebody's on the table, I don't want to throw them off because I want to do something on the chair that they need a little extension, right? So the sitting box riser, with the sitting box is fantastic, and I love that they make a riser for the Exo Chair. Get this out of the way. All right, what else? Yes, I think that's all I came up with. The biggest difference, oh no, there's one big con, right? So all of the things that I've told you up to now were all pros. I really, really like this chair. There's one big con, that it doesn't have the option for poles. And that's a big one. So if I were to buy a chair, and this is my only chair, if you have a small space or small studio, home studio, whatever, if you have only one chair, and it should work with the most people, you need one with poles. It would give me a heart attack every time one of my students did even just something like standing leg pump. I work with a lot of people, older people and people with injuries, and or people with MS, or whatever. And I would get a heart attack if I had them even try something like standing leg pump, let alone 4 lunges, anything on top of the chair, without the poles. I myself, I started with the Wunda chair, and then without the poles, and then I bought them later on. I added them on, and while I didn't have the poles, I moved the chair to the wall and tried to practice side lunges and stuff like that, and I really almost crashed off the thing. And I think I have pretty good balance. So I really, 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 really think you should get the chair with poles if it's your first chair. If you have already one of the other chairs, whichever, with poles, and you just want a second chair so that it frees up the first chair, then by all means, this is a great piece, right? Because then you have the option of doing exercises where you need some assistance for your balance on the other piece. And then you could choose this one for stuff like side pull-up, right? Maybe not so much hamstring 3, but all the sideways facing ones, where the poles are actually in the way, or you do your straddle leg pump. Yes, you can do it and swing your leg around the pole, but it's kind of annoying. So it would be great to not have to take the poles off. So that's basically the bottom line. If you have another chair with poles, go for this one. It's a great choice. If it's your only one, I would not do it. Okay. The one last question that I anticipated a little bit is group classes. So that's a tough one too. I mean, yes, it's a great chair for group classes, and I believe that's how it's marketed. But I would just choose not to teach a bunch of exercises where I would feel safer that if people had poles to hold on to. And the thing is too that in group classes, you can't spot them. You can't spot everybody, right? So they have to be safer by themselves. So it's a tricky thing. Basically, you just have to adapt. But really, in group classes, we have to adapt anyway. We can't teach every single exercise because it could potentially be too difficult for one of those people. So you might have to kind of see just who's in your class and go by that. Okay? All right. That's my review of the Exo Chair. I hope that was helpful. And I'll see you around. Tune back in.